create doc. We'll work with that. Right, come on, load up. That'll be on there too. Don't talk in emoji. That's fire. I guess we'll wait for the result to see if it's really truly fire. Yes, it's like we're going back to ancient Egypt. All right, so that's what we'll call this. Opening template. I'll leave it right now in Arial. Don't really like Arial. I like Georgia. Table. All right, we'll do it this way. So we'll start typing. Step 1. What's going to be step 1? Okay, look. Think back to if you have to open up the video. If you have to open up your answers to the video, do that. Right? We want to do step 1. If we get this down. So what should be in our template? What should be the step 1? Contextualize. Yes?
The author, the title.
But that's contextualize. So let's do contextualize. Lies. Colon. Author. Title. Title. And I'm now going to write things like additional.
Are you sharing this with us?
Eventually, yeah. And hopefully the recording comes out decent. I'll share both. Additional info. So I'll write additional info there. So, info. Additional info would be like date, essay, speech, commencement speech, magazine article, letter, editorial. Those are the kind of things that can contextualize a rhetorical analysis. If it's a political speech, you're going to analyze it different than if it is a commencement speech. If it's an editorial, you're going to analyze it differently than, I know, I'll make that a little bigger, don't worry. Then as if it's an editorial, as if it's a personal essay. Editorializing is, I should make that 18 is actually the minimum that people can see. Right, so yeah, you have to contextualize all. Don't worry about, I'm going to share this with you when we're done with this. And I'm going to show you the recording, so don't worry about typing everything down. Okay, so step 1 is contextualize, right? So in terms of the videos we've watched, is that tag? Or is that do? What comes first? Tag comes first? So 1 we're going to say, I'm going to put in parentheses, T, A, G, C video. Right, so now I'm not going to play the video. Let's do, so after you get the tag, what's next? The do? Okay. Right, think about the video we looked at yesterday that I had you look at for home as well. Right, look at the video that I had you look at for home as well. So the next part is going to be the do. What is that going to entail? Right, we want to put that in there. It's not enough just to say the do in our template. right? You get the tag, you get all that information, that contextualizes. Then you're going to move to the centerpiece of that table, which is, identify the task, right? If that's
Right. Or identify the exigence.
right. So do could be let's put this in our own words. I identify my task. Exigence, I'm going to move somewhere else. Right, so the do. What's the second part of the do? We'll make that 3. Identify your task. You're writing a rhetorical analysis in which you, or should I call it do 2? No?
How would step 2 translate into, like, when you're actually writing your opening? What?
Right, so, right, then we'll stick with do 2. This is where you're going to identify things like audience, message, speaker, exigence. Right, so I'm going to change this to 2B. I'll call this 2A. Right, makes sense? So in the do, there's 2 parts, right? Got it? All right, this is what we're coming up with.
Wouldn't you?
Go ahead, Lerner. Go ahead.
Wouldn't the thesis be repetitive though? If you write that as an intro paragraph.
No, your thesis is going to be here, or I'm adding rows.
Aren't you repeating what you put?
Contextualize, right? So the author is blah, blah, blah. This is an essay that was written as an editorial by an art professor, blah, 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 19, whatever. Right? I'm writing you want to...
So for the task, you just kind of say what the prompt is asking you.
Yes, this is what they... Okay.
So we include that in our intro paragraph?
Right. How would we incorporate that?
Okay. We're struggling with that at the moment. Fine. We can go back. AP, let's look at, where are you? Here we are. So we'll look at a prompt. All right, let's look at the is the Chavez the whole prompt there? All right, so we'll use that because, the Garden of English uses that, so you can look at that. Come on, where is it? Chavez essay. So we'll open this. We'll open this. There it is. Oh, come. Open a new window. That way I can then close that. New window. All right, on 10th anniversary of the oh, no, don't make me pull up Go Guardian on here. That would be just embarrassing. All right, so let's see. On the 10th anniversary of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King, labor union organizer and civil rights leader Cesar Chavez published an article in the magazine of a religious organization devoted to helping those in need. Right? That's your step 1. You're kind of identifying that stuff. Step 2, read the following excerpt from the article carefully, and then in a well-written essay, analyze the rhetorical choices Chavez makes to develop his argument about nonviolent resistance. So we really need somewhere along the line to make sure this gets into our point. So let's go back to
So we just,
Oh, so step 2A would be, write the rhetorical choices that he makes, that we chose? Because we're kind of answering the task.
okay, so identify. We'll get rid of your task because it's not really your task. What is it asking you to do?
identify the rhetorical devices he uses.
All right, good. So I'm going to change text color just so that it stands out. Generally speaking, made by ... I don't know why it always underlines my ... Your, right? You. Okay. So contextualize 2A, rhetorical choices. Then you can move to audience message speaker exigence. That works. Go ahead.
Is 2B like not also contextualization? Because
No, if we're identifying contextualize as the tag, right? The do, what it's asking you to actually do is identify rhetorical choices. Part of what you have to identify, pointing that way, is audience message speaker exigence. Right, so 2A and 2B, identify the rhetorical choices. So when we look back at this one here, right, he does a lot of videos on this. All of the rhetorical essay videos that Garden of English posts uses this particular essay, right? So you'll look at the rhetorical choices there and how those rhetorical choices create speaker message audience, right? Address, right? Those are the appeals. Appeals address. Appeals are not rhetorical devices. Rhetorical devices address the appeals.
reveal the audience.
That is one of the appeals. That is one of the appeals. You have to address the audience. You have to address yourself as a speaker. That most writers don't do that. Hi, I am so and so. But through their rhetorical choices, they will identify themselves as believable speakers. I'm sure that, let me just see. I'll show you where that is here. So, this piece here is about speaker. He does that through word choice. He does that through hour. See it? Right? The best possible opportunity to recall the principles with which our struggle has grown and matured. Period. Our conviction is that human life is a very special possession given by God and man, and that no one has the right to take it for any reason or for any cause, however just it may be. He's positioning himself as a giver of this message along with us, right? He is part of the movement. Sometimes, if you think back to the Lewis essay, he positions himself as a believable speaker when he talks about Emmett Till. When he goes back into his own past, uses an anecdote and a reference from his own past and compares and contrasts, right? These are all rhetorical choices. His past to George Floyd. Right? That positions him as a speaker who we can believe. that positions himself as and that also identifies his audience. Okay, let's get back to, it's this one, right? Let me see. Yes. Right, so is that making sense? So your first sentence is contextualized, that's the tag. Who the speaker is, what kind of essay they're writing when they wrote it, all that kind of information. Second, 2A and B could be one sentence, might be two. You're identifying rhetorical choices. They do this through the use of, fill in the blank, you'll identify rhetorical choices. They do this too.
Can we say that, can we identify the message and the audience before we identify the rhetorical choices?
Sure.
Okay, so we can.
Okay, so blue, wait, actually, let me put it here.
Okay.
No note, right? Now we're adding, this is fine. 2A and 2B can be ordered to fit your needs. Right? No number there. I thought that was going to be ordered. That's not how to spell ordered. Right? We're going to leave that there. So it can be 2A and 2B can be whatever the order is. It doesn't have to be that order. Whatever fits your needs. If it's 2A, 2B, that's fine. If it's 2B, 2A, that's fine. Right? The thing about models like this is, as rhetors is what you are becoming. Don't fall in love with the order. This isn't geometry. You're not following necessary steps to get the necessary answer. The steps here can be jumbled about as you need. 3. So after you've identified that, what's 3? All right, think about the essay.
Thesis, right?
Thesis, okay. Statement. 2 sentences. Now, I'll say this in the video so you get as a sub note to this. I'm going to bullet point that. Right? You're looking at this and you're saying, "Oh, wait, isn't this going to be repetitive because we've identified rhetorical choices?" Choices, right? Make sense? Right, so in your thesis, rather than just, if you're identifying, right, in step 2A or 2B, you're identifying rhetorical choices, which works, right? This works for our model. You're creating this model. You don't want to be repetitive and just say the writer uses these. You want to identify how those rhetorical choices accomplish the purpose in your thesis, right? So we're looking at step 1 is 1 or 2 sentences. Step 2, A and B are 2 to 3 sentences. Thesis is at least 2 sentences. Not bad. Right? 6 sentences within this. I'm going to add one more piece. I'm going to add the piece here below. Right? Transition. Transition works like this. Right? Transition will work like this. Whatever your last, I'm going to write idea, right? Idea, rhetorical choice, that doesn't work. Idea, rhetorical choice, etc. is, must be mentioned in one or two of the following paragraph. Transition, I'm going to make transition green. I'm going to fill that in green. Green for go. Right? So your transition, you end, you have to transition from one paragraph to another, and this works for everything. Whatever that last thing you mention in a paragraph should be the first thing you connect to in the next paragraph. So if you're moving from a writer's use of anecdotes to the writer's use of analogies, you want to end with analogy in a paragraph, you want to begin a paragraph with analogy. If you want to end with anecdotes, you want to then open the next paragraph with how those anecdotes are analogies. Just that one word, sentence, end sentence, paragraph 1, beginning sentence, paragraph 2, just one word is enough to make a transition.
Could you elaborate on that? Could you not necessarily an example? Could you...
Let's see. We will go back to what I highlighted. Let's look at how Chavez transitions from his king's entire life was an example of the power that nonviolence brings to bear in the real world. It is an example that inspired much of the philosophy and stratagem of the farm workers movement. Right? That's his movement. This observance of King's death gives us the best possible opportunity to recall the principles with which our struggle has grown and matured. Our conviction is that human life is a very special possession, right? So he's looking at, look, he's doing it as a well-published author, connecting struggle and conviction, connecting principles in the last sentence, got it? With conviction in the next sentence. So the idea of principles ending one paragraph, the idea of principles restated as convictions beginning the next. Right? If a lot of you're going to write, like the author will use anecdotes, and the anecdotes will be used to compare and contrast. If you're ending one paragraph with an anecdote, your next paragraph would be the writer uses that anecdote to contrast the following anecdote. Yeah, I know I'm saying anecdote a lot. Get it? Does that make sense? You want to connect ideas. Look, there are all sorts of, there's whole lists of when you go into the doc that I put up. There's all sorts of transition words you can use too. But when you want a 5, you want to connect principles to convictions.
So let's say I was writing about right?
Okay.
If I were to end one paragraph talking about, I provide a quote and then I elaborate on it and I mention diction.
Mm-hmm.
In the next paragraph, I would state that the diction conveys the tone.
Yes.
Okay.
That's exactly it. Got it?
Yeah.
I would ask you to repeat it, but hopefully we caught that on air and that you can listen to it. That's good transition. That's what you're looking for. When you look back at your essays that we did last week, Friday and Monday. We'll talk about essays tomorrow. If you got like that third blip over or lower on your thesis, now you look at what we did with thesis. I suggest for your essays from last week, go underline your thesis and look at what you know now. For some of your development, what they call their commentary, transitions announce your commentary. I am comparing these things. Now, let's see. Is this one? Yes. Are we happy with this template? Is there something missing that you caught on the video yesterday that you think should be included? All right, before I press stop record, before I stop typing on the board, this is up to you, right? You've created this. I've helped you make sense of it. The only thing I put in here is look at your transitions. And that was a perfect exchange for how to do transitions. Anything else, right? You watched the Garden of English video about introductions. Anything else that you need to know? Use the, right? And of course, I'm going to add this here. I'm going to below quote. We like that. Moving the reader to right, that one there. Alt. Yeah, right. Moving the reader to. That worked really well yesterday when I was looking at your thesis statements. If that one, you all used that one really well. I stick with that. Ultimately moving the reader to. So look at your thesis statements from yesterday. So make sure you include that.
The Garden dude said switch it to urging because we don't know what the reader picks up.
Right, moving the reader to, urging the reader to?
Yeah,
Ultimately urging, that's fine, urging the reader to. And really what you need there, all right, there's one R in urging, I'll fix that. And that just means whatever the purpose, okay, thank you. Ultimately, urging the reader to. Include that in your thesis. When you look at your thesis statements from yesterday, when you look at everybody's, that worked really well. That video with that, because with those these connectors, these one-word connectors, really pulls together, and it's not just body paragraphs. It's all of your paragraphs are paragraphs. The job of a body paragraph is different than the job of an intro paragraph, sure, but those connectors work. Anything else? I added the last two here. Right? I added these two. To quote. And then whatever the purpose of that essay happens to be. Last ask. Anything else needs to go in your intro template. This is the one we're sticking with. I'm not diving back in. We're not adding. We're not subtracting. Anything else? All right. Put that on star. I'm going to load. I don't know why I'm recording this. So I'm just going to Gonna add that to AP Lang. And I'm gonna